What are the best children's games of 2024? We're about to find out in this episode of Little Big Thumbs. Now, to give this video some context, at the time of this recording, my kids are ages 7 and 9 years old. And while the focus of our channel is on games that are equally fun for kids and adults, this video is specifically looking at those games that are primarily intended for children. So, over the next few minutes, we're going to be looking at several of the kids' games that stood out the most to us in 2024. That might be games that found their way onto our table over and over again, or games that we're still buzzing with excitement to play even more of in 2025. We're going to be offering these games in alphabetical order, then we'll offer some honorable mentions, and then we'll reveal our pick for the very best kids game from the past year. So, are you ready for some great games to play with some great kiddos? Me too. Let's move on and get ready with our first Game of the Year nominee. Our top children's game of 2023 was Hansel and Gretel, which was published in North America by Foxmind. And 2024 saw the North American release of the next game in this fairy tale series, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. In this game for 2 to 4 players, we are playing cards to move around a circular board which is set into the bottom of the game box. We've each got 11 cards and we play from a hand of 3. We can play the card to the left or the right, but never the one in the middle. These cards help us move around the board with the goal of collecting the most cake points. We'll gain cake tokens by taking a lap past the Mad Hatter's teapot or landing on a smaller cake space, allowing us to spin the spinner and scoop up some tiny tasty treats. Other special spaces on the board might make us change sizes, stumble into a rabbit hole, or double our movement. Once we've played all 11 cards, the game ends and we count up our points. Most games don't last more than 15 minutes or so, making for a game that's easy to learn and quick to play, all while capturing some key aspects of Lewis Carroll's whimsical and wacky literature. Unlike Hansel and Gretel, this game definitely holds more appeal for children than adults, and it's an excellent addition to a wonderful series of games. And it's an easy choice to add this game to our list of great children's games from 2024. For younger players, maybe ages 4 to 6 or 7, the children's game that hit our table most frequently is Can of Worms, which is also published by Foxmind. The game comes packaged in a literal can, and inside that can we'll find cards, tokens, and an assortment of super cute worms of different lengths. All of the worms are placed into the holes on top of the can, and we'll give it a couple of good spins to keep anyone from memorizing where those different worms might be hidden. Players will be flipping cards and pulling worms to find a combination of worms equal to the length number on that card. If someone draws the exact worm lengths to match, then they win that card as a point. But if they think they'll go over, they can pass the rest of their turn to another player, along with the risk of possibly ending their turn with nothing. Actually, that's not quite true. If a player does go over that target number, they'll receive a worm token, which can be cashed in on a future turn to successfully complete a card with a worm length one higher or lower than the target. The first player to collect 4 cards wins the game, and in a nutshell, that is Can of Worms. This one might be the most adorable game on our list, but it's got more than just looks going for it. It's a game of pressing your luck, making educated guesses, and for younger players can build some key block counting math skills. Games that skew younger don't often have much staying power in our home these days. But with Can of Worms, that eye-catching presentation and the fun gameplay has kept us coming back all year long. Over the years, we've heaped plenty of praise and even our Golden Thumb Award for Catapult Feud from Vesuvius Media, the expansive dexterity game that's at least partially inspired by Crossbows and Catapults. But in 2024, Restoration Games has released a refurbished edition of that classic franchise. It's called Crossbows and Catapults Fortress War. These games all have the same basic premise, building up our structures and then tearing them down with projectile attacks. The restored version of Crossbows and Catapults brings tactic cards into the game, the option to move warriors around the battle map to protect themselves or draw fire away from others, and some redesigned Crossbows and Catapults to allow for more control and precision. We're going to do a full dexterific duel between Catapult Feud and Fortress War later this year, but for now, we wanted you to know that this new Restoration Games title is crazy fun for adults, and it's especially amazing for kids. Which is why it's on our list of the best children's games of 2024. Colt Express is one of the most fun and enduring gateway games from the last decade, and now that train heist theme has been ported into a new children's game called Kids Express. It features the same 3D trains that longtime fans of the original enjoy, but unlike the programming mechanics of its older sibling, Kids Express is actually a cooperative dexterity game. On our turns, we'll either be moving our kids to the different train cars, or we'll call on our friend Sam to take a shot with his slingshot to surprise the baddies. At the end of every turn, we'll collect a baggage token from where our kid is located and apply the effect on the other side of that token. These effects might send the criminals roaming to the other train cars, or maybe cause all bandits outside their hideout to scoop up an extra case of treasure. Once one stack of treasure has been fully depleted, we'll compare our saved stash of luggage against what the baddies have managed to gather, and if our pile is bigger, our little heroes have won the game. That decision of whether to try flicking off the baddies or hop onto an empty car to save some loot is just interesting enough to keep older players engaged while being super fun for kids. And the excitement of that dexterity element makes for explosive moments, all while remaining thematically true to the original setting of the series. My kids have asked for Kids Express repeatedly since it arrived, which is why it's on the tracks of our 2024 Children's Game of the Year. Our next game technically released in 2023, but it didn't arrive on store shelves in Canada until 2024. It's been one of my most anticipated kids games from the last couple of years, and it's called Pigs on Trampolines. The rules for this game fit onto a single page, and it calls for us to just bounce our pigs off of individual trampolines and try to land them in the center of a treetop mud puddling target. Players are bouncing their piggies simultaneously, but the action stops as soon as one hits that bullseye. And once all the mud pie tokens have been claimed from that puddle, we're going to count up and find out who has the most and become the winner of the game. The box includes some variations to balance different skill levels. And make no mistake about it, players are going to need some skill to succeed at this wacky game. A good dexterity game needs to have an infectious joy at its core, and Pigs on Trampolines has that in spades. In fact, it's one of the few games I've ever purchased a second copy of in order to facilitate more players jumping in on the fun. It brings a magical chaos to players of any age, but it's especially delightful for kids, which is why it's on our list of the best children's games of 2024. The folks at Gamewright have been making some super fun solo games for kids in recent years under the banner of Brainwright. We've played countless games of Egghead and so many games of Icosa that our copy has nearly disintegrated into several pieces. And the latest Brainwright game to land on our table is called Puzzlebright. This is a hybrid electronic game of arranging Tetris-like pieces on a flashing grid. And there's only one key rule. No two pieces of the same color can be touching. They must always be separated by another color. Puzzlebright has over 300 challenge levels, and it actually feels like a portable video game console. My kids have been talking about this one on our next road trip, and I'm so excited that they're interested in doing this rather than asking for endless screen time. Puzzlebright is simple, addictive, and fun, and that's why it's on our list of great kids games released in 2024. Everyone loves a good Where's Waldo seek and find kind of game, but it takes a really special one to stand out in this crowded genre of children's game. And in 2024, Spotlight from Horrible Guild managed to stand out in a big way. Each player starts the game with their own seek and find boards along with a matching dial and cardboard flashlight. In each turn of Spotlight, we'll be selecting a card, flipping over a sand timer, and looking for as many instances of the thing on that card as we can find before that sand timer runs out. Players will be using dials to secretly guess how many times the person or item is hidden on the boards, and then move our player pawns around the board based on how well we did. We're in a race against the night in Spotlight, which is represented by the moon actually chasing us around the board, and it's bad news if it ever catches one of the players. Once we played through 5 rounds, we'll determine our total score as a team. But if the moon catches up to us too many times, we may not even get to that final round of the game. There is a magical excitement when people experience these cardboard flashlights in action. But the fact that it's not just a gimmick is what makes it stand out as a Game of the Year candidate for us. So if you like seeking and finding, go seek and find yourself a copy of Spotlight. Now, before we share our decision on which of these games is our kids' game of the year for 2024, I've got 2 honorable mentions I want to drop for you. Trash Dash was on Kickstarter in the latter half of 2024, and we had the opportunity to play this game and share some quick thoughts. It's an adorable racing game with accessible rules, stunning animal meeples, and game artwork. And I actually lost track of how many times we played this game as a family. The game includes a modular racetrack, some easy ways to modify the gameplay, and it's easy to access for younger players and fun for older players. Trash Dash is a surprisingly addictive game, but it's not going to be available widely for people to purchase until sometime in 2025. And if you want to learn more, I will include a link to the late pledge of this great game in the description of this video. And our second honorable mention pick is Tumball from Blue Orange Games. This one has actually seen a few different versions, with the first dropping back in 2018. So it's not technically a release for 2024, but this new Blue Orange edition is the first time I've ever heard of the game. In Tumball, we're using little sticks to add the lightest little balls onto a hanging collection of plastic lollipops, with the goal of ridding ourselves of our personal stash of these tiny marbles. However, if any balls fall through the mass of lollipop-shaped danglers, the active player takes all of those into their stash, making their journey to victory much harder. Tumball requires a careful hand and a bit of luck, and it's a whole lot of fun to play for players of any age. The game is a fresh take on the animal upon animal stacking genre, and it's absolutely one to look for on store shelves sometime this year. And now, with those honorable mentions in the books, it's time to announce our 2024 Children's Game of the Year. Are you ready? Okay. The winner is Spotlight from Horrible Guild. Congratulations! On top of my kids just wanting to play this game over and over again, it includes several ways to raise or lower the difficulty, allowing it to grow with children of all sorts of ages. And it even includes a competitive mode for players who might not want to work together. The flashlight mechanic is truly innovative, and it has such a unique table presence that other folks can't help but be drawn in to watch what's happening in this phenomenal game of seeking, finding, guessing, and fleeing from the hungry clutches of the moon. Spotlight is so fun, so unique, and so special that we absolutely had to pick it as our 2024 Kids Game of the Year. Now, I know we haven't played all of the games that released over the previous 12 months, so if you think there's a great kids game that we missed, be sure to let us know in the comments of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back again soon. So, until next time, whether you've got little players or big players, make sure that you keep playing games that make your thumbs go way up. Bye for now.